Hello everybody, Corey here. I am going to go over the trades for Tuesday, October 8th, and the holdings. I apologize. Just a reminder, I'm not a qualified licensed investment or financial advisor. I just gather the data and present it to you so you can be more informed. So, I actually did this stuff earlier, but I've been trying to build these cube shelves and my hands hurt. So, I decided to take a break and do this video. I actually had the worksheets done early. The holdings were posted early. It was actually pretty awesome. So once I was done building one shelf, I decided it was break time. All right, so I'm going to assume everybody watching is not new. It knows what's going on. If I do actually have any new people, just let me know. And then in the next video, I'll just go through my little spiel. But we're going to just jump right on in today. I just know I have a lot of stuff to get done tonight. I will say, I know somebody's asked me about distributions and, estimates and everything else. I've had a lot of work and lots of things going on the last month. I'm just lucky that I got in when we started doing bulk calls to be able to adjust my workbook for that. But I have been out of not keeping up with my workbooks as much as I should, and then there's lots of changes. So while I'm trying to get back on track with my life and my decluttering the RV and reorganizing and getting back into the groove of things, I'll start making adjustments to the worksheets to get back into the estimates and be able to show you what they've made and everything. So I just wanted to answer that. I know somebody asked the question, and I know I haven't been great also about answering comments and stuff, so I do apologize that I haven't done a lot of that either. It's just been a lot going on with work. Yeah, so let's just get started here. I don't know if I've ever asked this, but we're going to try it one day. And if you've been watching these and you like getting this data and you want me to continue doing it, if you just hit the like button, and we'll see if see what we get on likes, just as a test. I'm curious. I never asked to like or subscribe or any of that. So anyway, here we go. We're going to start with Abney here. We have 2 short calls, 128, which only has 55 contracts. We're above that 4% or $4.50. And then we have a 133 strike price. We're underneath that 50 cents. But we have over 1,000 contracts there, so that's where the majority of those contracts are. That short call, since we're so close to it, that's only going to give us a few cent upside for that short call. And then and then it's probably going to... Well, it's not going to be totally canceled out by the other short call because it's only 55 contracts, but it's not going to be much movement there. Of course, as you know, for the synthetics, the stock price can go up because of the synthetic value going up, and if it has a bulk call, the bulk call value, market value going up. And then... and this one does have a bulk call, so we have a 135 strike price. Of course, we're underneath that by 2%, and that is for the majority of the contracts. So AIYY, we had some trades over here. So the first 4 lines are people buying into the fund. So we have 310 additional contracts for the synthetic, short call, and bulk call. And then we have... they closed out the synthetic expiring... Oh, I didn't do the color codes today. I'm sorry, I forgot to change those again for the trades tab. But the synthetic that's going to expire next week, they have pushed that out to November 15th with the same strike price there. So if we go look at the holdings here... we can see all of those new trades. I guess let me do this. But if we look here, the short call that's going to expire this Friday, which we're still only on Tuesday, we have a 23.50 strike price, and we're over that 4% or 95 cents. And this is where the majority of our contracts are. Of course, we also have a bought call here at the $25 strike price. We're underneath that 2% or 55 cents. I don't know why these didn't break down here. Yeah, those did it. I don't know, maybe I didn't change the formulas at the top. It's always something, isn't it, guys? Let me just say up here. Yeah, I don't know why. Yep, I did not copy them up there, that's why. So we'll fix this, then it'll be fixed in the future. I don't know, yeah, I guess I need it up here also. All right. And then I guess I can put it here. Okay, so then we go into the short call bought call that we just they just did today for next week. The $25 strike price, we're underneath that 2%. And then, of course, they did a bought call for those as well. They did that at the $26.50 strike price. We're underneath that 8%. Let's see what trades were next. So we do have AMDY trades. They closed out the bought call and short call that were going to expire this Friday and moved them out to next Friday. So we went from a short call with the 167.50 to 180. So you can see we were closed here today at 172.80. So we were above that strike price, $5.30 at the close today. And then we had the bought call that went from 177.50 to 190. Still has a $10 spread there. So if we go look at our trades. Sorry, my watch was going off. So I guess this is picking up. Oh, okay, so it had to close half of those out to push this to next week. So for this one, for the bought call, it was the same for all of them. In the short calls, there was two different strike prices there. So that's why that looks like that. All right, so they have the 170 strike price that expires this Friday for the short call. We're over that $2.80, which is 2%. And that's where half of the contracts are. And then, of course, we have the other half that'll expire next week with a 180 strike price, and we're underneath that 4%. And then we have the bought calls, so the one that's going to expire this Friday, 177.50. We're under that 3% still, and then the bought call for next week, 190, underneath that 9%. There might be some upside for the short calls, but you have it split here. The contracts between the 170 and 180, and we're already over the 170. So, of course, as the 170 goes up, that's going to cost more money to close out, even though the other short call will go up. So they'll sort of cancel each other out somewhat there. But again, you'll have the bought calls and you have the synthetic market values that should allow this to go up more. Sorry, I don't know why, but my throat is starting to feel a little scratchy. Okay, so I don't know why it's Tuesday and we have a lot of trades. All right, so AMZ here, they closed out the short call and bought call that was going to expire this Friday and moved it out to next week. So we went from a 190 short call to a 187.50, and we went from a 195 bought call, and we stayed at a 195 bought call. I just heard somebody knock something over. Hope it wasn't the cats. I left everything scattered in there as I was putting together that shelf. Sorry. So today AMC closed at 182.72. So I'm just trying to look. So they went down, but only for the short call. Okay. Let's look at our holdings for AMZ. So we have a short call with only 215 contracts that expires Friday still at 185 strike price. We're underneath that 1%. Then we have the short call for next week, 187.50 strike price. We're underneath that 3%. And then we have the bought call with the 195 strike price. We're underneath that 6%. That also expires next week. So we have upside here, somewhere around 58 cents for the short call possible. And then, of course, we have a bought call on this one for the majority of the contracts, for all the ones that expire next week, but not the couple of hundred for this week. Then we have Aptly here. Again, they closed out the short call and bought call expiring this week and moved it to next week. We went from a 232.50 strike price to a 230 strike price. And then for the bought call, they went from a 237.50 to a 235. If we look at our holdings, all right. So something's not right here. I don't have this coded right. I manually did this, and this is wrong. So let's look over here. I did this so I wouldn't mess up doing something, and I actually did it wrong. I really don't want to do all that. All right. Sorry, I'm trying to think of the best way to do this. No, that's not it. That. Copy. All right. So I assumed that the top and bottom were synthetic, and that was not the case. So this is the synthetic here in the middle. All right, so then that makes this one the short call. And that makes this one the bought call. And actually, because I didn't copy these over, these color codes are not going to change. I apologize. But if I copy those formulas over, it's not going to work because I'd have to change all the formulas to pull from the different tab, blah, 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 blah. So anyway, at least I have them labeled right, even though your color codes over here may not be right. Sorry, I was going to see. None of these reference the daily tab. Oh, that one does. If it references the daily tab, then I can't use it, but I think this one's fine. Nope, I don't even know what I just did. Yes, discard. Alright, so I just made it worse. Alright. Oh, I see what happened. Well, it still just deleted them. It's all good. So our synthetics, 225 strike prices, those expire next week, and they're actually over the strike price. So that's good. And does that look like that on any of the rest of these? No. Okay. I've clearly messed that up. I thought I fixed that early. I just can't win, can I? I might have copied those before. I know I'd fixed them, or I tried to fix them. I guess I still didn't. But they're in alphabetical order, but yeah. I still ended up copying them wrong. So I've had to try to reduce the formulas in my workbooks, not to mention that Google Sheets doesn't want to pull in a lot of the stock prices now. So when I copied yesterday's price from the previous tab, I didn't have them in alphabetical order, and I went back and did them in alphabetical order, and for some reason it still did not take. And therefore these over here are going to be wrong on all of these, because there's no easy way for me to fix it this second, and I'm not sitting at my desk, or else I'd stop the video and fix it real quick. So I apologize for that. I'm sorry, I just now noticed it. All right. So we were here on Apple. And we were talking about the synthetic that expires next week. We're above that strike price, so that's good. And then we have a short call that expires this week with the majority of our contracts with the 230 strike price. We're currently underneath that 2%, or about $4+. And then we have a short call that expires next week with 155 contracts. It's also the 230 strike price. And then we have bulk calls for this week and next week, both at the 235 strike price. And Apple actually went up 30 cents today. It's pretty good. I don't recall hearing anything about Apple today, to be honest. All right. Babu closed out the short call expiring this Friday and pushed it to next Friday. We went from a 123 strike price to a 118 strike price. All the China stocks tanked on open today. I heard them talking something about it in the stimulus. They didn't say anything new. I don't know exactly what happened, but some of the China stocks were down like 12% right off the open. I don't know how they ended at the end of the day, but so Babu here, we have the short call there with the 118 strike price. We're underneath that 7%. So it gives you a possible upside here of about $1.71. This one actually dropped about $1.23 today. We do not have a vault call for Babu. And then Coney, I swear there's trades on every single one of these. Okay, so Coney, people are buying in, so this one's pretty simple. We have 625 new contracts. I keep forgetting that I've got this here. I haven't been using it, so I forget. But you can see there, they added 625 contracts. We have 3 short calls expiring Friday, 175, 177.50, and 180. significant drop from yesterday to today. We were at 180.80 yesterday, and today we closed at, nope, I just remembered that's not the price. Sorry. That's what I get. Earlier I thought I was doing so good. Coney yesterday. They were at 170 or 168.92 yesterday. So they didn't go down too much there. All right, so we're underneath those strike prices, 4, 6, and 7%. I'm surprised they didn't close these out and push them to next week like the others. But you can see here the prices on these at the end of the day were still $1 and something to close them out. So that's why they did not. Then we have the bulk calls here. We have a 190, 192.50, and 195 strike price. We're below those 12, 13, and 14%. MicroStrategy, it's moving crazy, but Bitcoin and Coney are not. But I don't know if y'all saw it, but today MicroStrategy got up to, did it get to 199? It definitely got to 198, but I'm not sure if it got to 199. But anyway, let's see. Dizzo, we did not have any trades today. We have 2 short calls. We have a $96 and $97 strike price. We're underneath those 4 and 5%. Our contracts are split there. Possible upside here, 30 to 40 cents there for the short calls, and no bought calls. Then we have, looks like 30 contracts. Let's check. Yep. People buying into Phoebe. So we have 30 new contracts added to the synthetic and the short call. So you can see we have a new short call now for next week with a 605 strike price. And then we have the 2 for this week, the 595 and the 600. We are below those strike prices. Let's see, $2.11, and then 1 and 2%. The majority of the contracts are at the $600 strike price there. Possible upside there around 24 cents. We do have a bought call for the 600 strike price for that number of contracts, and the bought call is 620 strike price, and we're underneath that 4%. All right, GDXY, no trades here. We have a $41 strike price. We're underneath that 5%. Possible upside here of about 88 cents, and no bought calls. Then we have GUI. All right, looks like they closed them out. Yep, closed out this week's short calls and bought call, and moved them to next week. And then we have an additional bought call. So the first 3 lines was closing out 125 contract short call, and then when they opened it, they did a bought call with that one. And then the other 2, they already had a short and bought call, and then they again just moved it to next week with a short and bought call. So we closed a 170 and a 175. They closed a 170 strike price short call. And our new short call strike prices are 167.50. And then they closed the bought call, and then those strike prices stayed the same though, 175 to 175. Sorry, it's hard trying to look at all the lines and figure out what was all going on there. So now we have an even number of bought calls and short calls that all expire next week, along with the synthetics here for GUI. So our short calls 167.50. We're underneath that 2%. And I did these backwards. So here's another screw up that I did. Because this is the short call. It's only happening because a lot of the synthetics are expiring on the same day as short calls. So there we go. Sorry for the tapping. Just touching the screen hurts my fingers. All right. Again, color codes and stuff aren't going to be right, and this possible upside isn't going to be right because it's not on the short call. So I apologize there. Hold on. But this is the short call because it's the negative. But that doesn't make any sense. Let's see what our holdings look like the day before the trades were made. We did have some errors on some of them. I don't remember which ones it was, though. So we had a short call with the 170 and a bulk call 175. And then our trades 170, 175. $39.30. Okay, so those match up. So the closed ones are good. The new ones, our short call should be 167.50. I see what happened. It's again the synthetic being out of order. All right, so these two are synthetics, and then that's our short, and that's our bulk call. Man, I apologize, y'all, if we can make it to the week. All right, so we have the short call with the 167.50 strike price. We're underneath that 2%. Then we have the bulk call with the 175 strike price, and we're underneath that 6%. Possible upside here for the short call, about 28 cents for GUI. No trades here for JPMO. We have two short calls that expire Friday, 210 and 212.50. We have 30 contracts at that 210 strike price. We're above that 75 cents. And then we had the 212.50. We are underneath 1%, which is where the majority of our contracts are. We have upside here about 15 cents for the short call. And then we have our synthetics that expire next week with the 220 strike price. And then we have Murny. It looks like we have several things going on. If I remember correct, it was crazy, yes. And then I rearranged all of them and tried to put them in order to make this as easy as possible. So the first three lines is where people are buying in. So they have a new 115 contracts. The next 5 lines you can see here that say close, those were all going to expire this Friday. They have closed all of those out. And then the next 8 lines is where they're opening up positions for this next week. And they're adding in bought calls for all the ones that didn't have bought calls this week. So, and there's lots of lines there on those new ones, but they're all the same straight prices. So the short calls are all 61 and the bought calls are all 65. And then you saw the short calls that were closed. Those ranged 62, 64, 65, 66. They were all over the place. But let's look to see how those are going to be here. So next week, everything here for Murney will be expiring. I'm freaking losing it. So these two, so they still don't have bought calls for all of them, but these two are bought calls. Yeah, I don't even know where that even came from. I'll do a better job tomorrow. I thought I did a good job earlier today. Apparently I didn't. I was trying to rush too much, I guess. But we have the synthetic that expire next week with the, that just makes sense. Yeah, with the $80 strike price. And we're underneath that 27%. Closing today at $58.39. Then we have two short calls for next week, 61 and 62. Underneath those 4 and 6%. And then the bought calls with the $65 and $66 strike price were underneath those 10 and 12%. So we have bought calls on all the contracts except for 115 of them. My guess is those were ones that were already put on because here all of those match. So those went together. So those did have those for next week. And then these. So the only ones that didn't have bought calls were those three. So maybe they didn't. Maybe no. It shows here that they did bought calls for all of them. So, what am I missing here? $41.90, $41.90. So we have this 62. Hold on, what? So, yeah, there's, okay, so up here, I apologize. I forgot all about these up here. So when they opened these 115 up here, they did not do a bulk call with these. So that is why it's off a little bit there for Ernie. Sorry, it took me a minute to figure that out. MSFO, here you can see they've just added 50 contracts to the short call and synthetic where people have bought in. So if we look at the holdings here, you can see we have a short call that expires this week, $425 strike price. We're underneath that 2%, roughly $10 for the majority of the contracts. Possible upside here for the short calls, about 46 cents. We also have a bought call to go with those contracts with a $432.50 strike price. We're underneath that 4%. So both of these expire this week. Then we had the 50 contracts that they just did. That will expire next week with the 420 straight price, and we're underneath that 1% and no bought calls to go with that one. And Misty, so it looks like we're going to have a bunch going on there. Not too much. So, yes, so MicroStrategy closed at 192.20 today. Like I said, I think it was around 198, 199 at one point today. But, so they closed out the short call that was going to expire this Friday with a 182.50 straight price. Well, at the end of the day, we were not $10 above that. However, like I said, during the day we were. So they must have closed these out earlier, paying $17.77 a piece, a share to close these out, costing almost $30 million. Therefore, well, let's just go ahead and finish this. So they move these to next week with a $225 strike price. Of course, to pay to cover the $30 million, they took the synthetic here that was going to expire next week with the 160 strike price and moved that to November with the 195 strike price. So if we look over here, Misty, we see our new synthetic, and yeah, so they only closed out half of the contracts. All right, so we still have half for this week, 182.50, which were above 5% or $10, and then we have the ones for next week, 225 straight price, and we're underneath that 15%, and no bought calls. I don't know. It's hard to do the possible upside. Yeah, you could say maybe $1 or so a share over here, but you know, that's it's a big jump there. What is that? 40 some dollars. Wow. Anyway, I don't know. We'll see what's going on with this one, because I don't know, MicroStrategy's just been going crazy up, even though Bitcoin hasn't necessarily been going crazy up the past week. So I don't know what's going to happen there with that one. So then we have Nephilim here. We don't have any trades. We have the short call, the 727.50 straight price. It expires this Friday. We're underneath that 1%. Possible upside here, about 14 cents for the short call, and we do not have a bought call. NVIDIA here, it looks like they were assigned about assigned on one contract here. And then let's see. I did not put these in order. But they closed the contracts expiring this week, and our new contracts expire next week. So NVIDIA went way up today, and I didn't even hear about it. Well, I don't know, they might have been talking about it, but it never registered to me if they did. But you can see we closed almost at 133 today. The strike prices here for this week were 123 and 127. So our new strike prices there for next week are going to be looks like 138. So let's see what it looks like over here. Yeah, the 138. So the 138 strike price, we're underneath 4%, about $5. And then we have the 145 bought call, $7 spread there. We're underneath that 8%. These expire next week. Possible upside for the short call there, about $1. And then OARC, no trades. We have a short call that expires Friday with the 46.50 strike price. We are over that by 14 cents. So no possible upside here for the short call and no bought call. Then we have our new, brand spanking new ETF. I don't know why the deck date's not coming up right there. I don't know, I have to check the formula, but anyway, with the 40, sorry, I didn't mean to swear, but our short call is $40.50, and we are above that on the first day by 2%. Palantir closed today at 41.45. I did hear a lot about that one, so I guess it was running today. So no upside here for the short call, and no bought call here either. And then we have a PayPay. So we had some trades here. It looks like 130 new contracts. Let's just double check. Yep. So we have people buying in 130 contracts there. Oh, sorry. I was looking at something. All right. So short calls expiring this week, $79.80. And we're above those strike prices. So the majority of the contracts are at the $79 strike price. We're above that 3%, or $2.16. And then we have the $80 strike price with 155 contracts, and we're above that 1%, or $1.16. Then we have the short call for next week with the $83 strike price. We are below this 2%, but it's only for 130 contracts. So no upside here for the short calls, and no bought call for PayPay. And SMCY, I wonder if that's one we had an issue with yesterday. Yeah, here. This is when I think I said that they had a closing trade missing, I think. Yeah, they had here where they opened up 880, but there was nothing where they closed the 880. So then on the holdings, we had 2 sets of 880 short calls. So then today, on today's trade, they closed the short call and the bought calls. They did those trades there. So then that took them off of here. Okay. And so those are the trades that were missing from yesterday. So now you can see it's all nice and clean. Hold on, yeah, it is the color code threw me off. All right, so we have the short call with the $51 strike price. Wow, it says we're underneath that 11%, which is almost $6. Wow. These $50, which reminds me, Palantir 51, yep, $50. Seeing the possible upside of $6 just seems crazy to me, because I'm not used to those $50 stocks still. So it throws me for a loop when I see it there. But then we have our synthetic that expires next week with a $43 strike price, and we are above that 5%, so it's looking good. However, I don't know why this is showing negative, because that should be positive unless I copied it from the wrong place, which wouldn't make any sense. Like, I don't understand why my things seem to be all jacked up. SMC. Synthetic bought calls, short calls, so it didn't come from the put sections. So I'm not sure. Because this should be a positive number, right? Because that plus that is a positive number divided by the number of shares is a positive number. So I don't know why that one up there is negative. I'd say I'd try to remember to do that, but tomorrow I have a couple of doctor's appointments, plus trying to get some work done, so I'm probably not going to remember with all the running around I have going on. But we also don't have a short call here for SMCY to point that out. So it doesn't look like we have any trades here for Snowy. We have a 116 strike price for a short call this week, and we're at 113.52, so we're underneath that 2%. Then we have this synthetic expiring next week with a 120 strike price. We're underneath that 5%. Short call has upside of about 35 cents here, and we have no bought call. Then we have SQUE, 2 short calls expiring this week, 67 and 68. The majority of the contracts are at the $67 strike price, and we are above that 2% or $1.25. Then the $68 strike price, we're above that 25% for the 145 contracts. So we are maxed out on both of the short calls, so no upside there for those. We do have the bought call with the $71 strike price, but we're still underneath that 4%. All right. Moving on. Let me make sure because I don't know. Okay, TSMY is the next one. So we have Tesla here with no trades. We have 3 short calls expiring this week, 255, 270, 270, 250. We are below those 4, 9, and 10%. And then we have 1 bought call because I guess I didn't realize there was 2 short calls when I did that. We have 1 bought call for 1,400 contracts with a 267.50 straight price underneath that 9%. That's just a small, tiny fraction of the contracts. All right. TSMY trades, they closed. Let's see what we did. Okay. So at the end of the day, they're at 186.05, and the short call strike price was 182.50. So they paid $5.31 to close that out, and they also had a bought call with the 187.50 strike price. They closed that one out as well. And then they stuck to the expiration of this Friday, but went from a 182.50 to a 190 strike price. So if we look at our holdings here, we have 2 short calls expiring this week, 182.50, which were above 2% or $3.55. It's only for 30 contracts, and then we have the 190 strike price. We're underneath 2% for the 216 contracts. So roughly upside here for about 30 cents here for the short calls. No bought calls here for TSMY. Then we have Zomo. So Zomo, they closed out of the short call expiring this Friday. And they went from a 129 strike price to next Friday at a 124 strike price. They also did a bought call with 127 strike price. So if we look at our holdings here, we have our new short call 124. We're underneath that 2% or $2. And then we have the bought call 127. We're underneath that 4%. Upside of about 27 cents here for the short call. And these expire next week. I think we only have YBIT. Nope, we have dips and then YBIT. Alright, so for crash here, we have our short puts. We have a 227.50 and a 240 strike price. We're above those 7 and 2%. Then we also have our synthetics and our long call that will expire next week. So our synthetic is a 205 strike price. We're actually above that one, 19%. So that's looking about $3 million to close that out. And then we have our long call down here, which isn't worth much, but with a 385 strike price. Then we have dips, and then we had some trades. So it looks like we just added 75 contracts for people buying in. Let's just make sure, yep, all 75. So let's look here. We have a short put that expires this Friday with the 119 strike price, or above that one, 12%. Then a short put for next week, 127 strike price, we're above that one, 5%. And then we have our long call here. Alright, so our long call doesn't expire until November. We have a 160 strike price. But our synthetics, we have two different synthetics. So we have a synthetic that expires next week, but it's only for 35 contracts with the 107 strike price, which we are above 24%. Alright, so lots going on there, and it's all mixed up in there. Alright, so let's look at fiat. We have two short puts, 157.50 and 160. We are above those 6 and 5%. And then we have our long call and synthetic that expires next week. The synthetic is a 150 strike. We are above that one, 12%. And then we have our long call with the $300 strike, and we are below that 44%. YQQQ, two short puts, 467 and 473 strike prices. We're above those 5 and 3%. Then we have a long call that expires next week with a 620 strike price. But they're only worth 1 cent a share. Alright. Anyway. Moving on. YBIT. Oh my goodness. Lots of stuff. Lots and lots of stuff. Let me get me a drink before we do this last one. Alright. Let's see what's going on, because it looks like we have several things going on here. Alright. That's right. I remember this now. So the first 4 lines are buying in 1,200 contracts, which is a lot. I don't even know why anybody would want to, but that's a lot of contracts. And let's look at this one from the previous day, because I know we had issues with some other ones, and I don't remember which ones they were, but this one had some odd trades. So let's look and see if it was YBIT. So we have our synthetic, and then our short calls do not match our synthetic. Our bought calls, okay. So they're missing 1,100 contracts is how they were able to do that. This one I didn't catch because I don't even think I look at my data check anymore to see if the number of contracts are right. I think because of the bought call thing, since that happened, I haven't looked at them. Alright, so it was right here. They all equaled 33,585. That was on Friday. Then yesterday, okay, yesterday they added 1,100. Okay. So they added the 11, oh, sorry. So they added the 1,100 to the synthetics because we can see that those numbers change there. But on the short calls, 28,955, 4630, 4630. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. 28,955. Actually, I don't even know what's going on there. So the 500s match there. I don't even know. Because this one is less, and then this one is more. And then I know this is, I wish I had my phone here. Actually, I guess I do, don't I? So, and y'all probably don't care. Which I guess you could stop watching if you want. But it just bugs me when I can't, when something doesn't seem right. So they added on the trades 1,100 contracts across the board, synthetic, short call, and bought call. So 1,100 was added here, nothing here, and nothing here. I see what they did. And these weren't ones I coded. I was sitting here, make sure I coded these right. But these I didn't have to code because they were the 11th and not the 18th. Oh, let's look at those strike prices. $18.50 and $19.50. $18.50 and $19.50. Yeah, so both of those strike prices were bought calls. And that's why these add up to be the same when I add them together, because what they did was took away 1,100 from here and put 1,100 here because they were this. All right, so I guess instead of they didn't reverse or do whatever, they just added them on here again except for now they put the short call price at $18.50 and the bought call at $21. So when we go to today's holdings, and I need to do also, so those were expiring on the 11th, but these say the 18th. So if we look at the holdings, these still didn't change. And these are what that said the other day, where they took away 1,000 from here and put 1,000 here because of how they had the strike prices here. Alright, I don't know. It will end up ironing itself out, but it all came because of here, this being a 1850 and a 1950. I just don't understand how they did that. Oh well. I'm sure whether it's, right on the holdings or not, or whatever they see in the system and trade, it's going to be right. But anyway, so this is an entire mess now for Whitebit, and all kinds of things all over the place, expiring this week and next week. Short calls, bought calls, and the synthetics here. So anyway, sorry for some of the issues I had here today. Hopefully I won't have as many issues, assuming I get to do a video tomorrow. Anyway, I'll talk with y'all later, and thanks for hanging out with me, guys. Bye.